Not the time is Kafka or something. The spiders were heavy wrestling, you know. But I'll read it for you, and then we're going to engage. So our topic, do you still remember interpreted for this empowerment? Do you still remember? Just remind us. Or Nisha, and it's written in, you know. Hey, I want someone to say it. So what's our topic?
How to run an effective youth ministry.
Yes, how to run an effective local youth ministry within the AFM.
Yes.
So amongst the reasons why we chose this topic, what's number one, it's very, very relevant. And there's also this assumption that we make, just because you were Sunday school in the AFM, you grew up in the AFM, and then you got identified as one of those committed young people, and then you found yourself leading the youth.
Yeah.
We think that it's obvious, you know, we think it's obvious, we're AFM, we understand. And that's not the case at all. I believe in being intentional about this. I believe in taking time to define yourself, you know, and be clear of who you are and what's expected of you.
Yes.
One of the things that I don't believe in, and a group of people that really gets under my skin, people who expect to reap where they've never planted. Yeah? Like for instance, I come to you because you look like this decent, you know, young leader from Century of Hope, and then I expect you to know 1 and 2 and 3, to have answers and whatnot. Whereas I've never invested anything.
Yeah.
I've never sat down with you and explained things and make sure that we're on the same page. I just expect it's as good as expecting to reap where you've never sown. So because of the you know, this loose culture of doing things, you know, there are many assumptions, and those assumptions they inform the expectations that we have of each other, and yet those expectations cannot be justifiable because no one has ever set you down and break it down to you. See, this is who you are, this is what defines you, this is what you stand for, this is how you do things. That has never happened, you know? So any expectation projected on you is somewhat ill-informed or misinformed or, you know, unjustifiable. Okay? So this is why we chose this topic. But furthermore, you would recall Uguti, vision it. Let me see by a raise of hand those who were there in our previous regional youth forum. Yes. This is Brother Tando. We are Paramisa Ori, I just have aspects. Yes. And then, okay. Now, remind us, see, the vision for the Eastern Youth Department. You can sum it up in 2 words if you like. Spotlight, spotlight. You still remember, Sissy? You're not sure? Who wants to try? We spot shame. Yeah. But it's fine. Let me refresh your memory. So, vision here too, it is to achieve unity and excellence. So everything we do, it is in the pursuit of unity and excellence. We believe as young people of the AFM, we must be united.
Yes.
And it must be true unity, not superficial unity, you know, not just unity in paper, but it has to find expression even in our practical day-to-day lives, you know. So we believe strongly in that, and we trust God. He's going to help us achieve that in our region as the youth department. And then secondly, excellence. Excellence in everything we do. Excellence brings glory to God.
Yes.
And in God's kingdom, excellence is not a privilege of a few, but it is a norm for all. I know Modifat saying we work in silos and the excellency is privatized, you know, it becomes a privilege of a few, and it's difficult to access it, and there are many ways of making sure that only a few get to be the ones who excel, get to be the ones who are privy and exposed to means that will make them excel, you know. But in God's kingdom, it doesn't work like that. In God's kingdom, excellence is a norm. An average person in God's kingdom is excellent in whatever that they do. So we have to be kingdom. So we also believe, even in the AFM, it shouldn't be that here in the Israel, it shouldn't be that the excellency is for certain assemblies. AFM, whatever, you know, those are the churches where, you know, there's excellence. But even the list of our assemblies, when you interact with the young people, you see that, no, these people, they know what they're doing, they're serving God and they're excelling. So in the pursuit of excellence here, we want to sharpen each other and understand what does it take to run an effective local youth ministry within the AFM in the region such as ours. So there are these 3 points here that are necessary for starters. They are a solid foundation upon which a thriving local youth ministry can be established. First and foremost is having a healthy committee. Say it with me.
Having a healthy committee.
Having a healthy youth committee. I'll tell you what are the signs of a healthy local youth committee. And then secondly, the youth department in and of itself, it must be a healthy local youth department. Yeah, I know others can't see. The spider was just walking here. I don't know what's going on. But try to see, but I'll figure it out anyway. So having a healthy, I know it's a bit confusing. Department. I'll tell you the difference. Right? But there's the youth committee, there's the youth department, both of them must be healthy. And then lastly, there must be a deliberate attempt to understand and meet the needs of the youth and the young adults of that particular local youth department. So understanding and meeting the needs of the young people in your local youth ministry is necessary. So these are the 3 things that are foundational. If you have a healthy committee and the youth department is a healthy one, then the needs of the young people are understood and are met, then most definitely the foundation of that local youth ministry is solid and it will thrive. Are you with me?
Yes.
Now, I'm just going to break it down. So what do I mean by a healthy local youth committee? I'm going to ask us to just interact. So in your mind, Jay, how do you envisage a healthy local youth committee?
First of all, it must be operational. It must be operational.
Let me do this.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. No, you did not. I just want to pick your brains a bit, Okay. So it must be operational.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the first thing. It must function. It must be operational. Community, like, how do you, what's this? That's right. The same vision, same aims. I'll go according, a vision that unites you. So it must be functional. There must be unity of thoughts, unity of direction, unity of vision, community. What are some of the signs?
The strengths of the individuals must be optimally utilized. So they mustn't shine through as if we're not anyone, but you must use those to make sure that the team is strong and comes together.
Yeah. So there has to be team spirit. There's a difference between individualism and individuality. Individualism is about I better outshine, I better come across as, the smart one, the right one, the popular one, even when it's at the expense of others.
Yeah.
That is individualism. But individuality is, I must maximize my strengths and my potential for the benefit of the whole. You see, so that is individuality. So a healthy committee, you're saying, it is when all the members of that committee are excelling in their individual capacity, but are contributing to the team, to the greater whole, right? Okay, that's a good one. Babang Bareng. Problems.
There should be a sense of unity.
Sense of unity.
Coherence amongst the different.
That's right. Unity and coherence. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, what's this? Willingness, exactly. Yeah, willingness speaks to commitment and that dedication. It comes when there's willingness among the members of the committee. Yeah, what's this?
It must be a safe space for the, I think.
Yeah, safe space for the young people. So they must look up to that committee and they must know who's, these are our brothers, they're covering us up and they are holding our hands and they're there to help us be better people. So that's the idea that they are people. So all of those answers are on point for are also listed down a few. Firstly, a healthy youth committee, it must be properly appointed or properly elected. You may think that this is easy, this is like, it goes without saying, but that's the first thing.
Yeah.
For a local youth committee to be effective, it must be properly appointed or elected. Now, the constitution of the AFM, it allows each assembly to choose the manner in which it appoints people to fill important leadership positions, right? It makes provision, I think, for two. The first one is to appoint. So the leadership is in the right to can appoint and say, you will be the chairperson of the men's department, you will be the chairperson of the ladies department, you will be the chairperson of the youth. So it is within our constitution, it does allow that. Some assemblies, they elect. There are elections, then the committee is elected. So whatever way, I do not know if policy is on or in your local assembly, but you must make sure first and foremost that you are properly elected or appointed youth committee. That is important. And given the casual nature within which things take place in the church, there are many cases like me. I've served in the youth department all my life, and I tell you, since I was in KZN, I've never seen a local youth department like finishing the term. Never. They get appointed and for a year, and then who says only two, then they start to incorporate the others, just two, and then you say elections are coming, the elections come, they get elected, or a new chair or new committee is appointed, they go for a few months, omunya shata, omunya told himself in Cape Town, omunya backslider, and then it has never happened. And this is why, for the most part, if you were to conduct a survey, you will realize that in most local youth assemblies, people are there by default rather than by design. You see? And abanye, they get there, they were never trained, never prepared, just because you kept on coming and we're like, this is a decent system, was chigi, because you really want things sincerely to work, you step up and then all of a sudden, you then assume the responsibility of leading the youth. For the most part, that's what happens.
Yeah.
And this is why because people were not properly appointed and placed in those positions. The issue of training, the issue of being prepared was because I believe, and I'm almost sure of this, that the most difficult department in the church, amongst the four church department, is the youth department. I think the youth department is more difficult than the children's department, than the men's department, and than the women's department. But that's one department where leaders are not really prepared.
Yeah.
Unlike your children's ministry, there's a curriculum, there's a structure.
All those
they are
things
forever
are in
going
place.
to children's ministry teachers' workshops and conferences. You know what I mean? And then when they get there, it's not just a conference, we're singing and then we're preaching and then shaitom one way. They get seriously equipped, it's workshops. You see, when you come into the department, thank God for our current youth leadership. They have spotted this and they've been very intentional about empowering an average youth leader. So it contributes to this. The nature of the local youth ministry, please just have people find themselves in positions. And then, but another sign of a healthy community, meeting regularly. Meeting regularly. As a matter of fact, you should decide that you will meet periodically, either once a month, or once every 2 weeks, or once in 2 months, but you have to meet periodically. Meet regularly. This is extremely important. Because if you do not meet regularly, there won't be coherence, there won't be unity that you spoke of. And then you will find cases in an assembly or in a committee where they don't meet regularly. You find cases where we are in a committee, all of us, but because mina no Musa siyaklika, we just agree on things, and then we outsmart and outrun everybody else, and we come and implement this into Zetu without really being on the same page. You see, because we don't meet regularly, that is bound to happen, and there won't be coherence. And then when Mina no Musa's figures implement Talento, the rest of the committee, they're like, but they're not there, they're not informed, and then they can't support, they can't give their best because, hey, this was cooked between, the two people and whatnot. Usually what causes that, we don't meet regularly.
Yeah.
Right? So a youth committee must meet regularly, must decide that, okay, we're going to meet once every month, or once every 2 weeks, or once every 2 months. You see your organizational needs, they should dictate as to how often must you meet. And then agreeing and having consensus, these go together. So agreeing and having consensus is also extremely important. Right? And then 1.4, everyone knowing their role. Kind of speaks to individuality. Everyone must know their role. So a typical leadership committee in the AFM, we use the structure of, we've got chair, deputy chair, treasurer, and secretary. And you will be surprised. Mangalambi secretary ngibuze ngithi yini umsebenzi ngasekretary. People have idenyane efazi, they're not really sure. And sometimes we don't blame them because we've never invested anything. We just assume that they know. So everyone must know their role so that they can step up and fill it. And then good record keeping. Now this one is important also. Good record keeping. So meeting regularly allows you to keep records and go back to records so that whatever decision you're making, there's a development. When this does not happen, when you do not keep records and you do not meet regularly, you know what happens? The youth ministry does not grow. And you find people who they have been in the youth leadership for 3 years, but they are still battling with the issues they battled when they started out. And it's 3 years now.
Yeah.
It's because there's no proper record keeping. When you speak of proper record keeping, you even speak to assessing progress, having goals and constantly reviewing. It's okay, by the way, that's the goal we're aiming for. How far are we? Is this thing working? Is this strategy working? No, let's discuss this program. It's not working. It's not taking us to our goal. So if you do not meet regularly and you do not take records, you will not know. And then there's also something very boring. You know, I've experienced this, and it's very boring. It's a forum meeting. Island is red. It's a forum meeting, and a leader stands up. They want to comment, or they want to challenge something, or they have an idea. And then as they speak, you realize they are making reference to a matter that was resolved a while ago. Yeah. And there's paper trail. There are minutes, there are bundles, there are documents that address that problem. And that person is raising it up. They didn't read nothing, you know. You see, but a leader, and they believe in and of themselves that you see right now are making sense right now.
Yeah.
You must listen to me right now. I have this brilliant idea. Yeah. You see, and they don't realize that you're exposing your incompetence, you're exposing the fact that you don't read, you're ignorant. Yeah. And now we have to spend important energy that we could be used for progressive things, addressing something that we spend time and apply our minds and addressed it, you know, agreed on. Now you want us to take us back there because you don't read, you don't keep records. So there's that inconsistency, and then this is why even our grasp of things never matures. Because records are not being kept, and they are not being reviewed regularly. And then good relationship between committee and constituency, right? So if you're a committee, you must be very intentional about having good relationship with the young people that you're leading. I know many churches, not your figure. Committee, and then the rest of the youth, they just don't know, they don't see leadership, they're just unsure, there's no confidence. You know what I mean? So you must be intentional about having a good relationship with the young people that you're dealing with, your constituency. And amongst the things that speak to this would be the style of leadership. There's top-down approach, and then there's bottom-up approach. The top-down approach, it's very, very elitist in nature. There's an undertone of, you know, what is it? Superiority of some sort. No, we are the leaders, and autocratic in a way. We are the leaders. We decide, we instruct the constituents. You see, because we are leaders. Yeah. I call the process. Let's consult. Let's understand the needs of the people we're leading. How, if you want results, how do you communicate with, you know, with the young people, the type of young people that we're leading? People don't take time to do that. And then this is why you find when you go to committees, when I go to a local youth church and I look at the committee and when I listen to the leaders, they are blaming the youth. No, young people just don't listen. Young people, you're going to plan an event and call them and they don't open the car. That's when I know with our leadership, you need help. Because as a leader, God has given you grace. You must take time to understand the type of young people that you're leading. Yes. And connect with them to a point where you know which buttons to push to get certain results. So if you do not take time to understand the young people that you're leading, and you just do things, you know, in your own katalhanya, and then when you do not get results, you're like, they're young people. Your leadership, you know, you're not intentional about achieving this. This whole thing, yama surveys. This whole thing, yama forum meetings, and being intentional about being in contact with the people that you're leading, and ask that grace from God to even understand even the complex needs. You know, there are these very complex needs of the young people that you're leading. So for you to really grasp them and understand them, you must be a prayerful leader and also spend time and create room where you can constantly engage young people. From time to time, you go, you're reporting on forums. They allow the leadership, for instance, in our setup, the regional youth committee will have a forum. And then we'll present things to the rest of the leaders and then we'll hear and get to understand, the hearts and minds of the leaders, and then that will inform whatever decision we're going to make, whatever next move we're going to make, because we've created room for us to hold each other accountable. Because if we do not do that, we can also find ourselves outrunning. When you outrun the people you're leading, they say if you want to go far, go together, but if you want to go fast, go alone. So sometimes when you're not intentional about this, about having a good relationship with the community and the constituents, you outrun the people you're leading. So you have this exciting idea, you're running with it, you get the few friends of yours, your cliques who are always agreeing with you, you get them, you run with this thing. By the time you look back, there's nobody. And then you complain, young people, you as a leader, you didn't do what you're supposed to do. Okay? And then leading by example, this is also important because leaders set the tone. I know what kind of a leader you are by looking at your constituents or the youth that you're leading. Because leaders set the tone. You can't say you're in the committee, but you're forever postponing things.
Yeah.
When you show up, you're not prepared. When you do that, you're sending a message that this thing is not really serious. And that spirit will rub off on all the young people you're leading. Noma I give my all or I don't give my all. It doesn't really matter that much. And usually it's the spirit that starts with the leaders. Because leaders set the tone. So you can't, even if you guys are divided in the leadership, in the committee, eventually it's going to trickle down to the people you're leading. Right? So lead by example. Must lead by excellence. Demonstrate your excellence. They can't just say, you must demonstrate your excellence. Young people, excellence look like this. And then they must follow that pattern, and then you are leading by example when you do that. Are we together? Okay, so that was having a healthy committee. Those are the signs of a healthy committee. If they do all of those things, they lead by example, there's unity and consensus, they meet regularly, they keep records, and they were properly appointed, then I promise you that's a healthy committee. And then secondly, the second thing to have a thriving local youth ministry is to having a healthy youth and young adults department. So I did speak that the two they work hand in glove, right? There's the youth committee and there's the youth department. They are not necessarily exactly the same, but they work hand in glove. So those of you who were at the forum, we spoke about something that characterizes the leadership ethos as a AFM. It kind of explains the relationship between the committee and the department. So, do you guys still remember? Who still remembers? Miss Ndevu? Yeah?
Just to have it correct, I remember that the RIC comes from the RYF.
That's right.
And so RIC is the forum's agent, right? And
Got
so
it.
they answer to the forum.
Exactly. No, you're spot on. So that's it. Did you hear what she said? So she's saying that there's the body and agent type of relationship between these two. The committee is the agent of the body. The department is the body, right? You understand that? So, the committee does the bidding of the department. The committee in and of itself is not the department, and it does not constitute the department. But the department is every young person. So every young person also, they will also elect the leadership. You see, so it's the committee that gives, it's the department that even gives back to the agent, to its agent. And then when the agent is there, its mandate is to do the bidding and advance the interest of the department. So it must understand the needs and take its mandate from its constituency and implement it, and so on and so forth. So now when it comes to this, a healthy local youth and young adults department, one of the signs is 2.1, to establish a good relationship with the local church leadership and congregation. I can write a book on this one. It's extremely important, and it's one of those that we undermine, and yet it matters a great deal. Like the youth department having a good relationship with the leadership of that particular church and the congregation. Okay? In my limited experience and analysis, at some point I was very much convinced that the culture as a AFM is not really youth friendly. The things that I've mentioned right now, we see young people oftentimes they're just thrown there and they're expected to, bring magic. Nobody really takes time to invest and impart and develop a capacity and whatnot. That is a sense of not being youth friendly. And then there are many cases. There was a time when we were doing advocacy, when I was serving in another regional youth department, Yabo Gauteng North region. We wanted to do advocacy. We went around, collected cases of young people really being shoved to the periphery in the assembly. They are not being viewed as people who can, contribute into the heartbeat and the life of the assembly. They are just seen as people who must just give, who must just receive instruction. They just see young people as people who will pack chairs, play music, run the sound, and then do our media. But we do not really see them as people that we must sit and engage and allow them, a chunk on really dictating the life and the culture of the church. I don't know if you get me.
Yeah.
So in that case, you are somewhat a non-persona, a persona non grata. I bet you're a persona non grata. You see this chair, it is a persona non grata. We want it here because it's going to help us sit, but we do not think it can contribute in the thinking process. So when you take time to analyze a culture, as a AFM, it has got these very covered, not so obvious anti-youth sentiments. Do you understand that? And this is why you find there are even some churches where you go. So in this other church, the young people had planned to have an event, and then they wanted to use the church. And the board decided at the 11th hour, actually, they want to use the church. At the same time that the youth has been planning to use the church. And the young people were dismissed easily, and then all members of the board didn't see the problem. To say, no, young people, no, the board is serious. So young people, they will make a plan. The board is serious. We are the leaders of the church. So when the board meets the church, even the young people must behave, must make a plan. And then you can pick it up and we'll see almost all the members of the board, they do not see the injustice in that. And that tells you the psyche, and the attitude that the church has towards the church, towards the youth department. You understand that? And there are also churches to this day, there's intergenerational tension. The older generation, when they see young people, they see objects of rebuke and correction. You see, they just see people who are battling with lust and they can't think for themselves and they are drawn to sin you know, and there are music and there are clothes. Why are you wearing like this? This is church. You know, you must at least have a golf shirt on.
Yeah.
You know, you go to some churches, you find that spirit is still real. And the young people, when they perceive Batwa Holo, they think these people are judgmental, unapproachable, difficult. It speaks to this. So the relationship between the youth department and the leadership and the congregation at large. We must be intentional about forging a good relationship. This is why in our last RYF, I think I'm about to end the session, then we're going to take a short break. I hope you are putting down your questions. Ne? So in our previous RYF, that was Koskai City, you would recall, Uti, we spoke about that program of building a good relationship with the general pastorate of the region. It speaks to this. It fits this point. We want to, when the pastors and the leaders and the influential voices in the region, when they think of the youth department, they know, yeah, you must stop and listen. Those people got something to offer. Those people value us. And, you know, and that intergenerational reconciliation. Was it Malachi who said, when Elijah comes, he shall turn the sons of the fathers to the sons and the heart of the sons to the fathers. It speaks to intergenerational relations. It is fixing this part. Hey, Pastor Tandanani once preached about it. We invited her, a Gauteng North region in one of our regional youth conference. She preached about partnership. And then she explained that these days businesses are thriving because of a partnership. Yeah. You find Uti Mayotela gas engine, you need to produce a clicks. So engine is partnered with clicks. Yeah. And you're getting service, and then their brands are growing because of that partnership. And then she explained Uti, there's this partnership in the house of the Lord, where the young will partner with the old, where the youth will partner with, the elderly. And then that partnership is necessary for the growth of, so significant, right? So it speaks to this. So we must be intentional. It's not going to happen automatically. We must be intentional about achieving this. And then to stay true to the vision of the local church. This is also important. This is extremely important. Stay true to the vision of the local church. Now, AFM works this way. Each local assembly that has got its legal status, it is considered a legal persona, meaning that it carries its own agents. You understand that? And it is legally responsible of everything that pertains to its life. Do you understand that? Ngamanye amagama, local assemblies have got that autonomous power of some sort. You understand what I'm trying to say? And also the local assembly is also responsible of articulating the vision of the local house. Yeah. In the AFM, Aiki vision is Sugawa National. Here at the local assembly. It's the local assembly that hears from God and articulates its vision. I don't know if you understand that. For the most part, what happens in the departments above, the local department, it's just to organize. It's just to organize for the most part. This is why, I don't know if I was telling you, I'm meeting, at the regional level, even if Lana there are apostles and preachers and evangelists, you won't really have a huge impact at the regional level. It's at the local level where that grace, gets more room to be expressed and to be groomed. At the regional level, the most part is the organizational staff. Do you get that? You see, so this is why as the young people, take time to locate yourself within the vision of the local house. Kwamele maningabaholi, niwi youth leadership, you must understand the vision of your church. And you must make sure that everything that you do, you are able to gauge it and weigh it on the basis of the assembly of that house. Every activity, every meeting, every outing, it must speak to the vision of that house.
Yes.
So ingakho meeting regularly and also giving these reports, you must be able, as you give a report, to say, Lana AFM Butleng, this is the vision. And as young people, we have managed to ensure that the vision finds expression within our department. We've been having these programs and these projects and these activities. And this is how they are contributing to the realization of this vision. That must always be your language and your way of doing things, right? And what this does, it builds a good relationship with this. Or with the leadership of the house and the congregation at large, right? Because one of the reasons why there's no good relationship between the leadership, the congregation and the youth is because sometimes it seems like the youth is just doing its own thing. Because sometimes we think we're cool, we think we know it all, we think, it's prime time. The others, they are now grayish and it's prime time, so we know it all and we just want to do our thing. This is why in our previous RYF we were conscientized about this inter-assembly thingy, to say how we go about it. We must be careful we do not come across as as young people who, we got this thing going on, we don't care about what the rest of the region is doing. You remember that? Yes. You remember that? So it speaks to stay true to the vision of the local church. Don't give an impression that you're doing your own thing, you don't care. So be intentional about this. And then build the capacity to handle such change.
Yeah.
This is important because the youth department is also it is transitory, very transitional, it is very transitory. Bavela Sunday school, they are headed to adulthood.
Yes.
So this is why we are dealing with the same in our church. Almost more than half of the committee. This year they went to varsity, and then they're doing matric. So you gotta be prepared for such, because anything can happen. In our committee, I've never seen a youth committee finishing a term. So there are certain changes. People are still climbing the corporate ladder.
Yeah.
They get promotions at work. Abanye bayashada. Baptist. Prince Charming from Baptist Church to feel Wamtata.
Yeah.
And then the guy youth leader, vibrant, the youth is now starting from scratch. So that has been the case. So we must be intentional about some of the things that we're discussing, and there has to be a blueprint of some sort that speaks to all of these the complexities of a local ministry. So, but you must be intentional about building in capacity to handle any change. Yeah. One of the strategies that we're using is to don't focus on a few when you are training and when you are imparting. Cast the net wide. Get every young people, workshop everyone, so that should abanye bahamba already there's a pool of young people who have been receiving, and they are in a point where they can maybe step up and start contributing, at a leadership level. I don't know if you understand that. So it's something that you must have a strategy to deal with and plan ahead. Even issues of succession and even record keeping, it's for these purposes, for the very same purpose. one of the things why the youth department does not grow, it's because if this committee goes, the committee that comes in, they are starting from scratch. Akuna record, there's nothing to build on. And it's always the case whenever new leadership comes in, we are starting from scratch. There's nothing to build on. So in that sense, the youth ministry doesn't grow, right? Imagine, let's say, and if the elders, they pass away, the walls of the house fall. Everyone who comes in, they have to build the walls of the house. You see, then that home will never progress. You see, so this is what happens here when you are not intentional about building capacity to handle change, and you're not keeping records, and there's no strategy for what's the succession and so on and so forth. And then lastly, understanding and meeting the needs of the youth and young adults. So I made a note here, Uti, this is the core of the youth ministry. All the other things are a means to an end. Having an effective youth committee is a means to an end. Having an effective youth department is a means to an end. The end is, at the end of the day, the youth and the young person who is part of that local youth ministry, they must be ministered to, their needs must be met, value must be added in their lives. That's the bottom line. Okay, I can go on and on and on and on, but I think at this point, looking to Iskatasna timekeeper, we need to be smart and be wise about time. So I can either just finish number 3, so this is just the summary. I can just finish number 3 and then go through the summary, and then we take a break, or we can take a break now. Can I have a proposal? Must we go through and take a break when we're done?
That we do that, we finish.
Okay, there's a proposal that we just quickly run through what's remaining. Is there a seconder? Are you all in favor? Okay, great. Right, now the third point is understanding and meeting the needs of the youth and the young adults in your church and in your community. We will speak about that some other time. So 3.1, this is what it takes to be effective and meet the needs of the individuals in your church. Passionate and compassionate youth leaders. Youth ministry is a calling.
Yeah.
Are we together?
Yeah.
There was a time in my life I knew that God was calling me into the youth ministry. You would go to church, and for some reason, the Holy Spirit will overwhelm you when you just look at the young people. He will just overwhelm you. You will be the one who's like, I wish I could tell all of them that, it's okay, you belong here. Whatever it is that you're going through, don't worry. God will come through for you. This thing, it was not just a praying thing. It was a breath of the Holy Spirit. And when you are at that level, you're not just a leader by the fact that the pastor saw you that you're always wearing a suit on Sundays and then decided to make you a youth leader. But you're a leader because there's a burden. And somehow Unkulunkulu will reveal his heart to you concerning the young people. Sometimes what grieves God about the young people, God will pour it on you. Was it McDowell? There's one of his songs, I think before he sings a song, he speaks about the prayer that he prayed. He said one of the prayers he prays is, Lord, break my heart for the things that break your heart. Right? So, Unkulunkulu will begin to put this weight on you concerning the young people. You must observe in your local youth department, the leaders that really stick around, because usually youth leaders don't last, I tell you. They don't last. But the few that really stick around, you must know that there's a burden of some sort. And their leadership for the young people is not just by default, but it is designed by God. God sent them there. And usually they are the ones who get frustrated by the youth the most. But for some reason they stick around. Bahamba abanye ukuthi uthola ukuthi loya sisi loya bhuti loya usaloke ekhona. You must value such people because usually that's a sign ukuthi kunebhedding ekhona. Abantu abasha abanye bamhleke, abanye bamdelele, abanye bangamhloniphi, abanye bamhlebe, but for some reason he still shows up and he still gives his all. Value such. Usually they are God sent. And not many assemblies are blessed with them. And I want to believe that all of you here, you are there. Are we together? So this is extremely important because when this happens, you can understand it because of umuntu complex and umuntu kaNkulunkulu. So a faithful faith bias, we leadership ethos yethu. You have to be a prayerful leader because you can't lead God's people ngenyama. And uNkulunkulu obazi abantu bakhe ukuthi ubayisaphi. So if you do not sit at God's feet and get God's heart concerning these people, you're not going to lead them right. You're going to be part of their stress and their problems. This is why there are leaders today, they have messed up the people they're leading because abana inhliziyo kaNkulunkulu concerning the people. Bagcwele ukuthi ngifundile, bagcwele ukuthi akekho ozongitshela, bagcwele ukuthi ngpopular mina, everybody loves me, I can crack jokes and you see, I'm such a jam. Some people are leading from that place, not from the heart of God. Hey, I feel like preaching right now.
Carry on.
You get me, Pastor? So pray for this. And when you are available and you open your heart and you're a youth leader and you're forever spending your time at the feet of the Lord and asking Him, what's your plan concerning the young people of Century of Hope? What's your plan concerning the young people of Faithful Faith? You're forever asking God that He will gladly reveal it to you and you will become His agent and He will use you mightily.
Yeah.
And you will know even the deep and complex needs of the people that you're leading.
Yeah.
And then 3.2, I think I spoke about this, the bottom up versus top down
Yes.
leadership styles. Conducting surveys and being prayerful. So your top down, I did speak earlier on. So usually top down, it does not engage. You just lead from the top because you're the leader, you decide, you instruct. That's your top down. But your bottom up, you engage people. You spend time with them and you allow God to reveal to you their deep and complex needs and then and allow God to use you as a means to meet those needs. So that is your bottom up approach. And this is exactly, the main model for the top down approach was the Lord Jesus Himself. He did not sit by the right hand of the Father with all authority and instructed. He came and lived with the very people that He's supposed to serve.
Yeah.
And subjected Himself to their struggles and their limitations so that He could serve them. Ingakho, is it Hebrews 4? It says, for we have a high priest who sympathizes with us. You know what I mean? Even Moses was the prince of Egypt. But there's a verse in Hebrews that indicates that he chose to associate himself with the slaves. He could have came back to Egypt and said, hey, by the way, I'm a prince, and start reclaiming his princeship. But because God had called him and he had a burden from God, he heard God's cry concerning the Israelites. He went there and chose to be a slave with them so that he could lead them out of slavery. So that is bottom-up approach. He did not lead from a place of, I'm the prince and I'm going to speak with the Pharaoh to release y'all. he became the slave with them, so that when he stands to Pharaoh, he speaks the language of a slave. He understands the complex needs of the slaves, and he can properly represent the slaves. You understand that? So it's a top-down approach. Ingakho surveys, meeting with your young people regularly, and just hear them out, allow them to suggest, and go pray about what they're saying. It will allow you to be effective and to sort of have an acute awareness of their deep and complex needs. Okay? And then 3.3, three main categories of the needs of the youth and young adults. So, Faithful Faith again, this is our model. So you can pick a thing or two from it. But all that we do, there are three needs that we are targeting. We understand that young people are social beings, they've got social needs. And a thriving and an effective youth ministry must understand this. And some of your activities must seek to address this need, right? The social needs. Youth ministries that are one-sided, usually they don't thrive. They lose relevance very quick. If all you are about is fasting and prayer and whole night prayer, right? If that's what all you're about, there are needs that you will not meet. Young people also have social needs. So this is why in your annual program, you must be intentional. You must be able to account for each program, each project, each activity. Be able to account for, okay, these activities, they address this. These activities, they address even educational needs. Young people have got education. Do you know, according to AMA surveys that are being done by certain wings of the government, the challenge of youth employment in South Africa is because majority of the young people are unemployable. They are underskilled, semi-skilled, or unskilled. It's not that the opportunities are welcome, but educational needs. And it will make sense, especially in a church like the AFM, where majority of our young people, it's not necessarily a privileged. Majority, we're not privileged. So we're from, being called lazy, and setups now, anjalo. So educational needs. So we have to have a means to which you address education. We have programs that speak to addressing educational needs. And then spiritual needs, obviously. Spiritual needs, this is where we speak about young people must be saved.
Yes.
They must be born again, they must know God, they must be filled with the power of the Holy Spirit, they must grow in their faith, in the knowledge of God. So those are spiritual needs. They must also discover their spiritual gifts. Those are their spiritual needs. So these are the three needs. And then I say, FM Constitution, section here, vision, speaks to ministering to the total person. That is section 4.3 of the preamble of the AFM Constitution. Yeah, I'm going to repeat it just in case. So, section 4.3 of the preamble speaks about ministering to the needs of the total person. So don't be one-dimensional, but address the needs of the total person. So as youth leaders, we must be intentional about making sure that we address the needs of the total person. So this is just a summary, and it's what I've already said. The end goal of a youth ministry is this person. So this person, because according to the amended National Youth Policy, even our Eastern Youth Policy, a youth member is any AFM member who is between the ages 15 and 40. That's a youth member. Okay, they're not sure, but that's the youth member. If you are between the ages of 15 and 40, we young adults, and you belong in this department. And the end goal is to make sure that this person encounters God. maximize their potential, and then they live a meaningful and a fulfilling life for the glory of God. So everything that you do, think of an average youth or young adult who goes to your church. Everything that you do, as you try to thrive as a committee, as you try to thrive as a department, those are not the end in and of themselves. They are a means to an end, and the end is, at the end of the day, an average young person, by being part of the local youth ministry, that they encounter God, that they maximize their potential, that they lead a life that is meaningful and fulfilling for the glory of the Lord. If you've done that, then you will be a successful youth ministry. So the end in and of itself, this is the sole reason for the youth ministry to exist. I think I'll end it there. Okay, thank you, beloved. That's the end of this session for now. So what we're going to do, let's just take a short break, and then we're going to come back and do questions. I try to just condense everything. So you got your questions on it. So are we able to take a short break, and then we're going to come back and then do them questions? Is that okay? All right then. Thank you guys. Let's take a short break. Restrooms on this side, I'm told.